So, bit of a different podcast today. Obviously, the last time we were all here was Friday. We'd been to site, me and Anth, and you'd torn yourself away in a high-vis vest to come down and do an intro for an episode that should have gone out this week. Obviously, we've had to rethink that. We've had to change things up a bit, and we thought it was important to get you two in here, directors of the festival, in to tell your side of the story. So, Dean, from leaving here at circa, 5-6 o'clock on Friday afternoon, what happened?
Yeah, so obviously, like I say, we did the pod on Friday. I went back to site straight after. Everyone was super excited for the next day. I think obviously we were doing a bit of promo on the site as well from our side. Obviously the Ferris wheel was up and everyone was really excited for the next day. And then I think eventually, by the time I'd finished with the guys and obviously chatting and putting our stuff backstage, obviously we had some pod stuff and that organised for the next day. It was about 3 a.m. when I left, and I remember leaving site at 3 a.m. and there was a real feeling of pride from everyone on site that despite the 5 weeks of rain that we'd faced, it was pulled off. Everyone had worked super hard to make sure that the site was in a position to open. Obviously we'd had the walk around during the day with all the multi-agencies, which is obviously the event safety team, the police, the council, obviously the festival ourselves and the medics, and obviously everyone was happy. It was a goer and everything was going to plan. And like I say, we left with a great feeling of pride, how hard everyone had worked around the clock all day and night across the whole setup. Go home, get up the next day, obviously super excited again, but it had been raining a lot during the night and it all started to quickly unravel from there. Obviously that heavy rainfall during the night had undone a lot of the hard work that everyone had put in over the setup period, because some of the extra precautions that we had to take and remedial work that we had to take during the Saturday morning, it became impossible to do because obviously with that extra rainfall, as we were filling some of the holes with bark and stuff like that had obviously came from that extra rain during the night. And again, by the way, amazing from the Freemen, who were our partners with the festival. They'd let us do things that were probably unprecedented. Normally we're putting some bark in certain areas and things because they're such big believers in the event. And as we were doing the remedial works, obviously because of that extra rainfall, it became impossible, and we were essentially, it was creating holes as we filled holes, and it became a little too dangerous. And as fire exits became a bit too dangerous, and there was potholes, and it just all unravelled so quickly because of that overnight rain. And the conversations with the multi-agencies was that it became too unsafe for it to go ahead. And again, like it was heartbreaking. We were absolutely devastated, and straight away it was how can we react as quickly as possible to make sure that everyone's aware, and is there a solution for those who were wanting to come to the festival? And we obviously now unfortunately can't open.
Yeah. So at that point, like, what's going through your head? Because obviously I've known you for a long time, and obviously you're very, very driven in the way that you do things. And if from a friendship point of view of how long I've known you for, I knew if there's one thing you want to do is to let people down. Yeah. So what's then going through your mind for the weekend?
I guess obviously when we kind of first found out, it was just, it's too hard to even explain the feeling. It's devastation. It's adrenaline kicking in. It's your mind goes in overdrive, and you're like, right, okay, the festival's now been cancelled. What can I do? And the first thing I was thinking, I got straight on the phone with pretty much all of the directors, all the guys. I was like, guys, get the office now. We need a plan of action ASAP. Because the last one we wanted was the people that believed in us, not only people in our social circles, that people have seen on social media, that follow us on Instagram and other social platforms, that if entrusted in us to put on this amazing festival for the weekend. For us just to sit back and collapse was just never going to happen. So, we met here ASAP, and, within minutes, we were on the phone to pretty much every single venue in the city, and credit them guys for flipping it around so quickly. We moved the staff from the festival to each club site, Riverside, Digital, Tucked Up, China White, and pretty much every that we could get open in the city to accommodate for as many people as possible. We had them clubs open at roughly, I think, about 3 p.m. So the turnaround was quick. And I think, like I said before, the adrenaline kicked in because the last thing we wanted was just to collapse and not put on anything at all for everyone come to see at the weekend. So in some respect, I hope people did have the best possible time that they possibly could, you know?
Yeah. So it's just, I mean, obviously from the outside, I mean, these guys that have got these clubs have obviously, it's not even just about you going to them. Like, these guys have came to you as well. And the city as a community's pulled together and said, you know, like, we can open this venue early. Can you get people there as well? You know what I mean? It's not something like you have just went like off your own back, like, we're going to do this. Like, the whole of the city's pulled together to make that happen, right? And
first and foremost, yeah, that is, and it epitomises what Newcastle and the Northeast is all about. And I think, like, again, obviously we touched on it, like, we're heartbroken, like we are. It was out of our control, out of our hands. I mean, again, nobody could control the weather. Nobody could imagine when we've got a festival at the beginning of August that it would rain.
The wettest July ever, I think.
Wettest July ever. Like, there we go. And it's like, nothing we could control. Obviously, the things we could control, obviously we've tried to do as correct as possible, as personal as possible. Obviously, like Bammy says there, we try to come up with a solution. So people had somewhere to go, people who were dressed, they were excited for the big weekend. I mean, nothing will make up for the LooseFest experience, especially considering, like, for anyone who did get a look at the site, like, it was light years ahead of last year as well. We had activations.
It was incredible.
It was unbelievable to see, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When we were on the Friday, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was. We were so proud of it, and it's like, I think people would have came and they're gone, these guys have stepped it up again. It would have been a whole nother level. So it was never going to be a LooseFest experience, but I do hope that everyone feels there is a scenario where they've been able to make the best of a horrible situation. Now, of course, there's the people who've gotten ready and they've started arriving at site, or they were travelling, and it kills us, that, because obviously we pride ourselves on, we really try and do look after everyone. And obviously there will be people who will still be unhappy, and I think we said there was a couple of comments about why was it announced so late, and I think the simple answer for that is it was announced so late because it was decided so late. Yeah. Every single person wanted that festival to go ahead, from everyone on that multi-agency committee, essentially, as we said. Like, obviously Newcastle Council would want it to go ahead, the safety team would want it to go ahead, everyone wanted it to go ahead, no one more than us, and it's only purely for safety reasons that it couldn't go ahead. Like, the reason the decision was made was unfortunately the right decision.
Yeah, because there can be no situation where that is allowed to happen, that festival, and someone, for any reason, whether it be an asthma attack, whether they've sprained their ankle, could be anything going on, and if emergency services cannot get to them because of the state of the ground, because it was a quagmire, and if people start to be unable to be given safety help, that's just not acceptable.
No, it isn't. And we're a young team. We're a young team, and we have massive ambitions for what we want LooseFest to be. And make no mistake about it, like, we will be back next year and we'll be bigger once again. And I think our aim, and obviously you'll touch on it in a second, is trying to make sure that every single person who was planning on coming to this festival feels they've been looked after. And some things will be out of our hands as to how that can be done, but we will try our very best to make sure everyone feels that we have that personal touch, which we've always had. Like, myself and Bammy have been business partners for many years, and like, that's always been our big thing. Like, we do try and make sure.
So days after the festival, like days after what should have happened, I know we've just been in Nando's, and both of you said, like, you're still numb. You saying the adrenaline's just finally drained away, and you're absolutely knackered. I'll go to Bammy first, then to Dean. What happens now? It's just days after, but what do you do? What do you start doing now? What do you start doing as a festival and as a company? What happens now?
I think the next step for us now is trying to contact and respond to as many customers as we possibly can. Going through the social media, I'm not going to lie, there's some abusive messages in there. It's hard to read. It's a tough nut to swallow, to be honest, because, as a director, as an organizer, the last thing that you want to be doing is reading negative comments about something that you're putting on, that you're providing for people to essentially have a good time for. So it is very tough reading people's messages, but the only way that we can respond, and I think this is obviously the best way, customer service is key in any business. We will do our best to accommodate and look after every single person out there that has felt that they've been kind of let down. So we all respond to every single person. Obviously, bear in mind, it is probably going to take some time to respond to every single person that has messaged us. But, we plan on getting back to everyone in offering some form of, kind of compensation that we can, either it's a weekend in Newcastle. If you're coming up, please let us know. We've got access to all the clubs in the city. We've been club promoters as well as festival promoters for a long time now. So if it is a weekend where you come to the city, or even Leeds, which we have connections in Manchester, please feel free to message us as well, and we'll do our best to look after you with, free bottles of vodka, tables, discounts, entry, queue jumps, and just kind of give you the best possible service we can, not just as organised, but from humans as well, because like I say, as an organizer, as a promoter, our job is to put on parties to see people having a great time. It's not to ruin people's weekends or ruin people's nights. That is not how this game works. So like I say before, we do want to reach out every single person possible. It will take a long time, but we are here. We want you to speak to us, and we will do our best.
Dean?
Yeah, well, I think a couple of things with that. Obviously, first and foremost, we have, it's a massive operation, and we have some great partners and some great people we work with on top of that, who are working around the clock at the minute with insurers and ticket partners and things like that. And obviously we want to get an answer to everyone out there straight away regarding timelines and everything like that. And again, if it was up to me, or it was up to Bammy, or it was up to any of the guys individually, we would have had an answer there and then on the day, or at least the next day. Obviously, I'm sure those in the industry who knows how things work, and those who work in similar businesses know that it's not a quick process. And again, trust me, the sooner we can get back to people with a definitive answer, the sooner we will. Like, that's always the case. Like, again, obviously, as Bammy says there, like, we do take it very personally, because we put blood, sweat and tears into this. And obviously any negative message, which, again, by the way, people are entitled to have their opinion on certain things, and people are entitled to feel upset, especially, like I say, if you've travelled from a different city to come see LooseFest. Maybe you've seen it because you saw some of the footage from last year. Maybe you saw some of the artists and you've gone, do you know what, I want to go to Newcastle, and you don't know us and you don't know the Loose brand, and you haven't been part of what we like to think we've built over the last decade. Then yeah, you would obviously be a bit upset. I think for them people, obviously, hopefully this reaches some of them, and hopefully you see this and you kind of see how much hard work goes into it, and you follow the stuff that ourselves do with the events and even the podcast stuff, and see, like, when we do meet cool guests, like, the whole point of it is we want everyone to feel involved in everything we do, and we've done that on a local level for years, like I say, and people, I'd like to think, buy into it and really appreciate it. So I guess for those who don't know us and those who are upset, like Bammy says, that's when the Loose Days / LooseFest customer service comes in, and that's where the guys will make sure that if we can, we will do stuff. And again, I've seen people say, I've spent this much on accommodation. Like, that's heartbreaking. Like, it is. Yeah. It is. It's also, like, this whole podcast, we're gutted, but bear in mind, like, nobody's more gutted than us. Like, if we could have made this go ahead, like, it would have gone ahead, like, if it was in a safe way. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing with this. It's like, this hits no one harder than me, than Bam, than the guys, everyone involved. Like, and one of the main reasons it does is because we know how excited everyone was for that weekend. Yeah. So I think, like Bammy says, if there's a way where, like I say, somebody who's came up and they are gutted, well, we'll hopefully get in touch with them and say, do you know what, next time you do come to Newcastle, it mightn't be LooseFest, it might be just a random weekend. Well, we have weekly events, we'll look after you, we'll introduce ourselves. Like, we've always been about of longevity. And I think, like I say, people who maybe had a bad experience this year, hopefully they listen to this, they see that Blooming Heck, like, it wasn't what I thought. There's a lot more to it, and I'm devastated for the guys. But you know what? They've reached out with that olive branch to say, message LooseFest, message Loose Days, and hopefully a good relationship comes out of that. And hopefully we all sit here in 10 years' time or 7 years' time, and it's the LooseFest anniversary, the 10th anniversary, for example, and they go, do you know what? I've came to them 7 years since, because I actually felt I got, like, some really good customer service with it. And I guess the best thing to say about that is, how many messages, well, even you guys said yourself, you had some, because you were a part of it all as well. Like, how many messages we received from the second people started to find out on Saturday, and the amount of messages I got where it was like, do you know what, like, I'm devastated, but I'm more devastated for you guys because I know how hard you've worked. He was like, if I see you, I'm giving you a hug later. And that's the sort of thing that makes all the heartbreak and all the work that we do worth it, because you see that people appreciate it. Granted, you still feel crap for them because obviously you wanted them to be at the festival and you wanted to see them there, but like the nice messages that people have done, like absolute shout out, it's what Newcastle's all about, it's what the North East's all about. It is the best, most supportive community like there is, it really is. And again, there's the odd message where people who don't know or have any affiliation or just some people are negative for the sake of being negative, and that is a shame. And it's also understandable if people have spent money and they're gutted, but like I just hope that people, if they want to reach out, like I say, that they kind of see the hard work goes on. Like we're already straight away saying, how can we give something back to everyone and make next year's event even bigger and even stronger and even better? And like I hope people see that and I hope people feel a part of the journey. And like I say, I hope that anyone who was a bit good, especially if they've travelled, believes in it, supports us, and obviously come back next year and we'll be bigger and stronger again.
Right, well, I know how difficult this has been for both of you. You know, we've sat in Nando's and had a good old chat about it before we've come here. You know, thank you so much for opening up. Thank you so much for giving your side of things. I hope that clears some stuff up for people. We'll be back with a more usual episode of LooseCast soon. But for now, thank you very much, boys. Appreciate your time.
Yes, guys.